Hey guys, Blackout Bill with the 57. We're gonna seal this channel. We're gonna pop the power head off, drop the lower unit, change the impeller. We'll check the seals. I don't have a pressure tester. We'll put fresh oil in there and we'll see if it gets milky over time. New power head base gasket, that's just inevitable. And then just reassemble everything and then put a fuel pump ready to go.
Okay, so once the carb's off, you just take your 6 bolts off the intake manifold. You've seen this before. You'll be left with your reed plate, or the reed plate sometimes will come off with the manifold. And you can just, this just is resting there, you can pull that off. You're going to have to get some new gaskets. Reed plate gasket, exhaust manifold gasket. Okay. And you're going to take your pulsers out. Two little rings if you want to put them back. They're going to stay out. And you're going to have a plate like this. And they're not going to pulse anymore. They're going to be flat up against. Okay, so those are gone. And what you're going to do is you're going to seal this channel. Well, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to seal it with 3M, heat it up, and then we're going to be done. We did the vacuum cap. I wasn't a fan. At least the blue motor never ran right. So we're going to try this method, see if it runs better. And we're going to take blue apart and find out what went wrong. So
Power head base gasket is pretty simple. 6 bolts on the bottom. I'm just gonna die soon. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 and 6 around the other side. And just keep recording until the thing dies. Find the other 6 here. And then whoever did this one was nice enough to put in some new hex bolts, so we can always use a socket later on. And it should lift straight up. Straight up and off. We got some clay in some areas that would have been problematic, some water mixing with some bad seals. We'll change all of that, which is always nice. But here's your bolts for your lower unit, big bang boom, your assembly for your exhaust housing, some milky water in there mixing. Something wasn't 100% right, whether it was some loose bolts or what, but we'll get to that. But now it's off. We can pop the spark plugs off for some to work on our conversion, which should be very simple, and we'll get to that in a second. Alright, we gotta get all this crap out of here. The washer was attached to the motor, and you got this thing around, little metal base housing, spring. And it's missing. Okay, so that's a good one. It's missing the carbon fire washer seal. So very milky and oily, probably leaking all the way down there. That is because that carbon seal is not. It's got a little O-ring in it. It stops all the stuff from going down. I use my needle nose for that. So it's missing something. And luckily, I have that something. Funny. Yeah, it's missing the whole carbon fiber seal, and in that seal is an O-ring. Oop. So now all I need is a new O-ring, and I got it. Yay! That's a first. Usually the parts are there. They're either just broken or seized in there. And then the roll pin is there, and a lot of times that's supposed to come out. But I've been seeing people change everything with the roll pin in, so we're going to try that as well. And then we got to take this fuel fitting off. We're going to clean all this up. Take your 3/8. This is the 10, it's too big. And they're brass, so I don't want to ruin them. 3/8, this should be 2 of them and a star. Oop. The camera stays still. I am working on my camera. I don't know if I'm just that bad or if I'm so klutzy. I don't have the right equipment. I keep banging the camera. I got you on the surface that is shaky and wobbly, which is making everybody sick. So that's disconnected. That'll slide out once you undo your bottom lower half. Pop the lower unit off. Seal clean. Blip blip blip. Coming along. When you're converting these motors to the single line, you don't have to take the power head off, but because I'm doing everything else, I just figured it was, I'll just do it now. I took the spark plugs out. You do not have to take the spark plugs out. I just took them out so that I can lay it flat on the surface. And what we're going to try this time, because what happened is the blue motor, it's not running right. And I don't think it's my repair, but I can't prove it. So what we'll do with this one is we'll do the permanent one, and the blue one, what we'll do is we use the vacuum cap method. So we'll pull the cap out, see if it runs under normal pressure tank conditions. If it's having the same symptoms, then I'll know I did something wrong in my repair of the engine. So we'll go through all that. That's the next project after we finish up red here. What we're going to do is we're going to fill this channel with this here, and then we're going to heat it up with heat gun to facilitate drying. I'm going to clean up the excess that's going to sit on me. I don't want this stuff gets tacky real quick, so be careful with that 3M. I'm using 847. It is crazy tacky. All it wants to do is stick everywhere. So that channel's filled, and the idea is no air is going to escape past that. And the gasket, when it goes on, is going to fit like this. And I want to make sure that that channel's filled up pretty good. So, looks pretty good. So we're going to let that dry, and then that's it. We're going to reassemble. We're going to clean up the bottom for the new power head base gasket. But that's all part of the reassembling process. But that's what you need to do to get it to the single line system. So those little pulses that go on this plate here are not going to go back. So it's basically making the intake manifold just function as an intake manifold as opposed to a pulse air pressure system. The easier way to do this is to find the plate that goes on the side here that takes the crankcase pressure and pushes it and function and makes the fuel pump functional. And there's a way to drill and tap that too. I just don't have that means, and I'm always looking for that plate, and I just never come across it. I always get the motor that doesn't have it. So that's where we're at with this one. So conversion complete for now. We'll reassemble, show you guys, check it out. What I'm always talking about with these lower units, they even the other two were hard to come out, so I gotta cut them. I'm not worried about damaging this. I have more of those, but I want to cut it at the top so that this will come off, and then I'll have something to grip on so I can get those bolts out in the end. Okay, with a lot more banging and a lot more prying and a lot more breaking stuff, which I really don't want to do. Finally, I've been working at this thing for like an hour. love the other videos that when they first get it, they're like, oh, I've been doing this for so long, it's never this bad. It's like my 15th time beating the crap out of a water pump housing to get the damn thing off. But in any case, it's finally off. Water pump don't look so bad. It was pumping water, but we're gonna pull the whole assembly out once it cools down. There's my stuck screws. At least I got plenty there to beat apart. I learned that the hard way. So what we'll do is we'll hit it right now. It's not exactly PV blasted, but it'll work its way in there. Then we'll heat it and work it and heat it and work it. We'll get the vice grips on it, and eventually those will come off. But there's success, finally. Hopefully I didn't damage the plate too bad, and I think it looks okay. Well, like I said, I got another. Getting a small collection going. I'm sure one of those would have fit. I like to hit it right after. That instant cool down effect to kind of like expand the metal. Probably be better if you hit it while it's hot. I like hitting it with the WD right after it's done. Aha! There she goes. 70% of the outboards I get in my basement. These bolts are seized in there. Drilled out cases, ruined cases. Very, very rarely do they come out at all easily. It's like I'm working it and it's loose already. If it's not loose, what's going to happen is you're going to pry up on it and you're going to break it. Your best bet is to spin it. Get an old casing. Brandon's garage will show you. Put the bolts in the bottom and twist it. This one is coming. I'm being very gentle with it. These plates are expensive on eBay. If you don't care about it, they're available. Jump on eBay, pick yourself up one for $100. And alright, she's apart now. We just gotta get the seal out of this. That is nasty. Hopefully this seal install goes better than my other ones. I picked up some gasket seal compound. This stuff instead of ultra black. Coat. There. Falls. The reason I'm not a surgeon. 20 minutes of video. I can't even get the damn thing started. Holy shnikes, I think I did it. Whew. It's in, it's flush, it's deep. I'm gonna probably, I couldn't tell you if we can go in there. Just give it another whack for good measure. Just to say, hey, we did it. That's it, seal's in. So I cleaned up the housing a little bit, and cleaned up the wear plate in a little bit, and here's our originals. And here's a spare I have. So this one's pitted as hell. I mean, this thing saw some saltwater corrosion. Let's go side by side view. You can see how much pitting there is. So we're gonna put this one that I had on my shelf on it, and then I also beat the wear plate up pretty good with the screwdriver getting off. But this would be nice if I find one that's broken. We'll replace it with this one I had hanging up. These two probably went together. It's all pitted and crappy. So I don't know if my shot was good. Also. You can see the difference. This one's just in a lot better shape. So we'll run with this guy. And the newer plate. Same part number, same everything. And we'll save these for a rainy day. Alright, like I was saying, I do have a set, so here's a gasket for that. And then I was looking at the seals. I have a lot of kits that have this seal. Didn't seem like it fit. It was like the outer diameter was too wide. So my guess is that these seals are for the motors that don't have the plate, and then the seal here are for the motors that do. The seal that did fit nicely. They don't look to be original Evinrude seals. This one kind of does. But it's too wide, so if it doesn't fit, don't force it. But the larger diameter seal is probably for the motors that don't have that separate plate. You can Google the years on that one. In any case, so we got a gasket now. We're going to throw the assembly together, put the little unit back together. So we've installed the plate, put a little sealant on the gasket, put a little sealant on the underside of the wear plate, and we're just going to... The drive shaft I cleaned up real nice. It's all black and sooty because I don't believe they had that seal put together on the bottom of the motor, but we fixed that. We will be fixing that. And then we're going to slide our housing back on, our new water pump back on, our pin for the water pump goes there. So I'm spinning it clockwise, and I got everything into the housing there, and then we can just slide everything into place.